Hey, it's me, Phil with OneL. Remember back in the day when you'd walk into your local Walmart and they'd have a clearance bin of media? Well, they still got that, but these days it just tends to be DVDs or Blu-rays.
Years ago, you'd find all sorts of movies, music CDs, and games all thrown together in the bin.
You'd go into these bins with the intent of finding a holy grail, but most of the time it would just be something like this. I mean, the heck is a snood?
Games in bargain bins are the types of gifts you get from your aunt or uncle for Christmas. They don't know what games are good or bad, so they just pick something that looks interesting and it's cheap.
Now, just because I'm talking about bargain bin games doesn't mean they're all bad. Sometimes, you might find something great at the bottom of the bin.
Heck, back in the day, I got a copy of Sonic Adventure 2 for GameCube at a Giant Tiger. You'll only hear a Canadian say that.
The Game Boy Advance was no stranger to budget releases. Name a kid sitcom from the early to late 2000s, and I'm sure there's a licensed game for it.
I mean, Phil of the future?
Finally, a game for me!
Anyways, there is some really odd stuff on the Game Boy Advance. Lego Island 2, the Bible game, American Idol. How does that even work? Well, it's something.
You may have just invented a whole new form of torture.
Anyways, the Game Boy Advance has some games of very questionable quality. These games would often be left rotting on store shelves for like a decade until some poor schmuck would come along and buy it after being discounted like 10 times or so. I mean, come on, who would pay over $5 for Drake and Josh on the Game Boy Advance? Today, I cherry-picked a handful of games that I thought belonged in the bargain bin. Well, let's get digging. So how exactly does a game classify as a bargain bin game? Personally, I think there are about 3 factors that decide upon this.
1. How expensive it is. 2. Can you still buy it new today? And 3. Who are the publisher and developers? The first one is pretty simple. If a game is discounted heavily, it's likely going to end up in a bargain bin. For number 2, if you can still buy an old game brand new for a fairly cheap price today on, say, Amazon, it was likely overprinted as unsold stock is still floating around today. Number 3 is a little less clear, but sometimes there are certain publishers or developers who are known to put out budget titles or shovelware. Take a look at DSi Games, otherwise known as Destination Software. What do they make? Chicken Shoot? Deal or No Deal? Scrabble Blast?
Screw the board game, I can play it on the Game Boy.
There is no shortage of cheap and licensed games on the Game Boy. One other thing to consider is that back in the days of Game Boys, developers had to make entirely different games for the handheld market if they wanted to port a game over from a home console. Because of this, there were a lot, and I mean a lot, of garbage games released.
Anyways, how about we dig into this bucket here and take out our first game? Driver 3 is on Game Boy?
You heard it here first, guys and gals. The cavemen at Atari woke up one day and decided to release Driver 3 on the Game Boy Advance.
Or is it Drive 3R? Driver? What the heck do you call this game?
Anyways, this game was developed by VD Dev, which is literally just a 2-man team. Good God. They didn't release a different game on the Game Boy either. These madmen actually attempted to port a PS2 game straight to the Game Boy. Well, anyways, you play as Tanner, an FBI agent who does undercover work for the Miami Police Department. As you might have noticed, the game world is entirely in 3D, and it's quite good considering the limitations it's under.
However, no amount of good graphics can fix an empty game. This game just feels soulless. There's nothing to it.
You have a few minigames you can play with your car, some shooting mechanics, and yeah, that's all. The controls are also quite slippery, though it definitely feels better playing it on the GameCube than the Game Boy Advance. Right after you obtain your first weapon in the game, it tells you to shoot up a bunch of innocent bystanders. What were they thinking? Anyways, most missions in this game have some sort of chase scene, where you chase an offender down or follow a fellow officer to a crime scene. Keeping up with them is a pain. As soon as you can't see the car anymore, it's a failure for you. Alright, I finished chasing down this guy, and his car just blows up. Right after we're forced to watch a slideshow of what would be an animated cutscene on the original versions of this game.
Nice.
After all that hard work, I think I'll jump on this box and stay here for the rest of the game. Nah, actually, I'll shoot up another strip mall, play this minigame, and yeah, this game is boring. I won't deny that there are some impressive aspects of the game, like the graphics or how it sorta attempted a GTA-like experience on the Game Boy. But there's just not enough here. The only fun thing this game has to offer is deliberately going on a killing spree. But that's only if you don't get bugged at hearing the same song over and over again.
Anyways, on the topic of killing, why don't we move on to our next game? Which is X vs. Server. Now this game is actually based on a movie of the same name, and from what I've heard, it's really bad. So I guess we'll see which adaptation is better after I play it.
The game was published by BAM Entertainment. These guys were publishers of lots of shovelware back in the day, in the same vein as Destination Software. Alright, let's get started here. Let's choose who we're going to play as first. I guess I'll go with X, as he's first on the left. Man, he looks like an idiot while cycling through these animations. It seems like X is some kind of FBI agent whose family was killed after he knocked out some criminals from a most wanted list. Anyways, after a quick rundown of events, you can start the level. The first few moments feel really odd. I mean, an FPS game is one thing, but on the Game Boy Advance?
I can't do it.
The controls are quite limited. Moving and turning is all done via the D-pad, and strafting is on the left and right bumpers. If you press both at the same time, you crouch. It's really easy to crouch by accident because of this. Anyways, besides the controls, the first few moments feel like any other old FPS game. You pick up health items, ammo, and so forth. I like how these chairs spin, that's a nice touch. In the second stage, there is a bomb that is about to go off. Basically, you gotta get out before the timer runs out. The stage is easy thanks to this badass shotgun you get at the start of the stage. At this point in time, I nearly lost because I still hadn't figured out how to crouch. I found out in the last few seconds, thankfully. The next few stages actually give some nice variety and change things up a bit. Stage 3 has you tasked to shoot down your enemy's server down. You're given a sniper and have to take her out while she throws grenades. I never thought I'd be using a sniper on a Game Boy. At a certain point, I decided to just give up and shoot her through a wall with a shotgun.
Hey, if it works, it works.
The stage afterwards is just a chase sequence, nothing really important. Stage 4 has you go through a bar which server uses her escape route. I have to say, I really like the visual design of the map in this one. There could actually be some strategy involved here, and I have to say I enjoyed it. The enemies were tough, but it provided a perfect challenge for this point in the game. Once you're into stage 5, you're on the top floor of a bar. Eventually, you have a showdown with server. All she does is throw grenades at you, but you just have to run around her in circles and shoot her to win. After shooting her a bit, she runs outside where the fight continues. I just employed the same strategy and surrounded her. Finally, at the end of the fight, she runs away, and somehow destroys this door in the process. Hey, I'd be running too if I looked like that.
Overall, I'd say this was a solid attempt at a first-person shooter on the Game Boy Advance. It can be fun at times, but overall, it's just fine. I mean, hey, it's better than getting flushed away on the Game Boy Advance as a kid. Okay, I got it on the GameCube. Take it or leave it. Well, I still haven't flushed away these Game Boy games, so I might as well move on to the next one. And it's gonna be... What?
Next up, we have a game called Soccer Kid. Brother in Christ, what were they thinking? This is definitely the type of game that would be rotting on Walmart shelves, because what parent in their right mind would give this to their child? Do you want them to suffer? It's bad enough that the box art has some kind of Ken Penders looking art, but to include a plush of him with the game? Man, that's creepy. No thanks. Let's move on and unwrap this fast-paced platform adventure. The manual included with this game is surprisingly in-depth and details all the locations you visit in-game. So we have to travel to different countries to gather shards of your soccer trophy that was destroyed in an asteroid. Yep, seems like a typical day. There seems to be some neat locations that I can't wait to see myself.
I'm looking forward to Bay Beach.
Well, after an awkward opening cutscene, we transition to this title screen with some honestly incredible music. In the first few moments of the game, I had no clue what I was doing. Man, these controls are so weird. At first, I thought I had to keep the ball with me at all times, and whenever I lost it, I had to go fetch it. In actuality, you just hold the A button to regenerate the ball. After about 20 minutes of just messing around with the controls, I got the hang of it somewhat. I like how all the collectibles are just food. Like man, Soccer Kid must have worked up quite the appetite. Anyways, this platformer has you kicking balls at your enemies like dogs or construction workers. Usually it's quite straightforward, but sometimes they can give you a challenge. Especially with these motorcycle guys who just come out of nowhere. Stop! The game isn't very forgiving with health, and there aren't many opportunities to regenerate it. This gets worse in the later stages. Suddenly out of nowhere, this icon begins flashing on the screen. The heck is happening? Oh, it's a boss.
What am I gonna do? Kill him with a ball?
Just what I needed in a soccer platformer. The first boss is just some muscular dude throwing a football at you. I totally wasn't ready for him the first time, but on my second attempt it was actually quite easy. This is a common theme for all the bosses in the game, as they follow a basic pattern you just need to learn. Oh right, this game doesn't have a save battery either. After every boss you get a password.
What the fuck?
Does the password really need to be this long? At this point, just include a save feature. Anyways, the third stage is Italy. We've got coconuts falling, jumping motorcycles, giant attacking clams. Yep, this is Italy. I like how you can climb basically every building in this stage. Soccer Kid is quite the public nuisance. In Italy, you fight this opera singer who is just trying to put on a show. After Italy, I played just 3 more stages: Russia, the battleship, and the factory. There's not much to say about Russia besides the awesome music. Honestly, this game's soundtrack gives me Super Nintendo vibes, which I quite like. In Russia, there are these annoying squirrel enemies, but I found a way to break the system and become invincible against them. I love broken games. The last stage I tried was the factory, and man, this one is a mess. I mean, it's ambitious, I'll give it that, but there's no direction here. The map is bigger than it has any right to be, and you never really know where you're supposed to go. I do like the variety in this stage, such as the conveyor belts and swings, but it's all just so confusing. There might be a little too much variety. For the most part, I actually ended up enjoying Soccer Kid more than I thought I would. At times, it's honestly quite fun, and the whole soccer thing does add something to the platforming. If this game was a bit more polished and had better direction, it could be one of the greats on the Game Boy.
The biggest thing holding this game back is definitely the plush that came with it. I mean, I wouldn't wish that plush on my worst enemy. Hey, keep it quiet in there. Oh.
I won't stand for this mockery. I'm taking my games and getting out of here. Kick off.
Well, it's not like I wanted to see that kid again anyways. That's one less nightmare on my mind. Anyways, now that he's gone, we got 3 games left in the bargain bin. And one of those games is gonna have to be... Snood 2? Yeah.
Have fun with Snoo, loser. You'll be begging to play Soccer Kid after those shitty
Look.
games.
Just get off the line. I'm trying to play shovelware in peace here.
You know what isn't shovelware? Soccer Kid for the Game Boy.
What a piece of fabric.
Well, I'm feeling snooty today. Snood is back with a brand new style and exciting gameplay. Yeah, I bet. The box art for this game is wild. It looks like a kid drew it in Microsoft Paint. I love the little blue guy though, he's great. This game was published by DSi Games, whom I mentioned earlier. Basically, Snood is a puzzle game that was released all the way back on the Macintosh in 1996. The series has a strange cult following, having 14 games released. There are some classics such as Snood Towers or Snood Solitaire. Huh? I swear, this has gotta be the most popular game you've never heard of. Anyways, Snood 2. There are like 6 game modes you can try out, but for starters, let's try out the story mode, or world tour. We start in America, and you can already tell that it plays exactly like one of those bubble shooter games. Shoot the snood at the same snood, and it'll disappear once you get 3 in a row. The round ends when there are no snoods left. Pretty simple, right? Yeah, the first level is. On level 2, the snoods appear in this circle in the middle. What the heck? Okay, so the snoods bounce off walls. If they go under the bottom of the stage, you die. So what do I do? Actually, it turns out you just have to use L and R to rotate the circle. After that, it makes a lot more sense. Every so often it changes things up a bit by putting the snoods on the side. Wow, what a game over screen. I also tried some different modes, such as the journey mode. The snoods are a lot bigger, and you can see their faces up close in detail.
I'm not scared at all.
The classic mode is pretty much the same as World Tour, but then it introduces a mechanic that lets you grab snoods. I kind of like this mechanic, until I died randomly. I still have no clue why I died. Anyways, that's Snood. There's not much else I can say about it. It's just a bubble game. Everyone's played it, it's a safe game, and there's no harm done here.
I think my snoods have been quenched for now. Snood is one of those games that you can just pop into in a car trip and just play for a while. You can play in short bursts and it's kind of fun, kind of not, but it's Snood. What are you gonna do? Anyways, I've had enough of Snood for now. Well, we only got 2 games left in the bargain bin, so I'm just gonna choose the puzzle game to get it out of the way. And that game is Tang Tang.
Tang Tang was developed by Game Vision, and it's their only known game released. Guess it was too tangy. It's published by Take-Two Interactive, the same people who published the GTA games. I can already see the parallels. The box art for this game makes me think of Bomberman characters. Could they be a little more original? Anyways, the game plays like Bomberman if it were a platformer. You move with the D-pad and can create or destroy blocks with the B button. You can also shoot projectiles if you hold down and B. I didn't figure this out for the first 20 minutes or so because I accidentally skipped the tutorial. Well anyway, you've got to collect rings in each stage to open a door to the next level. Levels have a decent variety and introduce new enemies, spikes, and interesting platform choices. The difficulty never feels like too much outside of the boss fights, that is. Every world has a different theme to it, and the bosses change to reflect the theme. This one time I fought a sun, but was it really a fight since I didn't know how to attack yet? I fought another boss which looks like one of those aliens from Spongehenge. Even after figuring out how to shoot, these bosses are tough. They're constantly moving and shooting all over the place, and you die in one hit. Eventually, I worked out a strategy to beat the guy, but this didn't help much in the end as all my lives were gone for the upcoming stage. Overall, it's an okay puzzle game, but I don't think I would recommend it. There are much better puzzle games you can play on the Game Boy Advance, but if anything, I would at least recommend Tang Tang over Snood.
Oh, I'm sick of cheap puzzle games. I mean, at least after this one, I'm down to just 1 game left in the bargain bin. You know, these games have been boring, repetitive, and uninspired, but I haven't dreaded playing any of them. They're not that bad, but maybe it's down to this one last game in the bargain bin that'll change my mind. And that game is Drake and Josh?
I never thought that it'd be so simple, but they found a way. Behavior Interactive found a way to develop Drake and Josh for the Game Boy Advance. These are the guys that made games like Dead by Daylight, Jersey Devil, Fallout Shelter, Wet.
Get a napkin!
Yeah, they've made a lot of games. Drake and Josh starts out with some terrible PNGs of the brothers, and a really off rendition of I Found a Way, the show's theme song. We're off to a great start. The plot of this game is quite simple. Drake sleeps in and is late to school, so you've got to sneak into class. Yep, sneak in. You heard that right, this is a Metal Gear clone.
Yeah, I just gotta go down and get the door names. Drake? What? Where's the door hole?
Goes right there. See, I drew it with a magic marker.
You were supposed to cut it out with the power saw.
Dude, I'm gonna.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So go get the power saw.
Okay, I will. I see the problem.
Oh, do ya?
Megan has scattered traps and stuff everywhere across the school to make Drake's life a living hell. To get through the stages, you must sneak past people, avoid making noise, and play your guitar to win girls over. Press switches to open locked doors and proceed to new areas. It's basic stuff. You see this in most sneak games. If a person sees you, they'll let out a grunt and stop you in your tracks. This usually just puts you back at the beginning of the room you came from. Either way, the first level is supposed to be a tutorial, yet they have you sneak past this huge row of students in the classroom. All the while, you have a 10-minute timer counting down.
Whoa, just take it easy, man.
Not only is the first level huge, but it's a tutorial. They put a time limit on your learning. It's just like school. I finally came close to swooning over my first girl, but unfortunately this lame timer ran out of time. It's back to square one for me. Anyways, moving on from the first stage, you've got to get to the second floor now, and to do that, we have to steal a key from the gym teacher. Finally, I can show off to some girls! Just play a tune and they'll follow after you. This is usually to distract people so that they don't notice you, or to press a switch. However, using this mechanic is like playing a game of roulette. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. See, the thing with this game is the AI is so shit. Half of the game they just glitch out and spin in an endless circle after following you. Once they start, they never stop spinning. She literally just disappeared. What happened? Hell, this one time both of them glitched out at the same time. I couldn't proceed and had to get caught. Actually, this happened on multiple occasions. They're literally set to a basic follow instruction, which doesn't go well sometimes. 10-year-olds could design this game in Game Maker Studio. I was that 10-year-old. Anyways, I beat the second level, but man, I can't be bothered to do anymore. That time limit is just too little for the stage size. Plus the constant glitches are so off-putting that I really don't want to play any further.
So that was Drake and Josh on the Game Boy Advance. It's a cookie-cutter example of a licensed game on the Game Boy Advance. It has no redeeming qualities, and is worth as much as dirt. No way, dirt is worth more. Oh man. Well, we finally reached the end of the bargain bin. Finishing with Drake and Josh, that's it. You know, most of the time, bargain bin games suck. They're not good, they're mediocre at best. But sometimes, you can find a real diamond in the rough. You know, honestly, I think that... hold on. They're gone! What did you do with the games, kid?
What did I do with the games? I took them. That's what I did.
I need those games. They're important.
Look, Phil, I don't get what you see in these games, but if you want them back, you better get your behind to the field. You know which one.
I'll be there.
Oh my god! I knew all that food you ate was gonna make you huge.
Shut up, Phil. I'll make you pay for what you said about me and my game.
Oh, so that's what this is all about. Well, I'm ready when you are. I'm gonna get those bargain bin games back. Ugh. Shit, I forgot. I suck at fighting games. I need some backup.
Yellow.
King of Fighters. It's me, Phil. Well, you see, there's a soccer kid and he's like angry. Like real angry. I might need your help over here.
What's in it for me?
You can, I don't know, practice your quarter circles.
Oh, fuck yeah, let's go!
Alright, he'll be here any second.
Hi.
The fuck? That was fast.
Practice makes perfect. So, is that the guy?
That soccer kid, alright, that little devil.
Didn't look that too. Let's see what I can do.
Alright.
Are you ready, nerds?
We are now.
I can feel it. The fight is in me. Let's go.
Elbow assault. Tornado kick. Sidestep. Alright, shadow step and finish him with the double blow.
I need those games, kid.
But why? Why would you need these terrible games?
They're not terrible. I mean, sure, they had bad music, gameplay, art design, and stories. Well, some of them didn't even have stories. But you know what? They meant something to people. If you had nothing else to play, you made do. You found the fun in it. And as long as these games are special to someone out there, it's worth keeping these games around.
You say that, but did you grow up with Bergman games?
Of course! Toy Story Mania on the Wii, Buzz Jr. RoboJam on PS2, Pac-Man Fever on GameCube. All these games were shit. They were bargain bin games. But you know what? They were special, and every game's special to someone. Soccer Kid, please, give my games back.
You win. Your games are over there.
Yeah, I bet. There's the bargain bin. Let's see, we got X vs. Server, Driver, Snood 2, Soccer Kid, Drake and Josh, and Tank Tank. It's all here. Come on, let's get out of here, kid.
Okie dokie.
I hate that stupid bug. Let's go.
Are you okay?
I'm alright.
Like I said, these games aren't great, but sometimes you will find a great game in the bargain bin. Sometimes games just don't sell, and there's no specific reason to it. But honestly, will I ever play Snood 2 again? No! Why did I save these games?